Okay, so let's get into it. Say, who are we? I suppose, who are we? I said United Sabians Worldwide, and we were founded. Founder our organisation is a person by the name of Dr. Malachi Z. Kabina York Obran, born in Ghana in 1945, June 26, to be exact, in West Africa, of the Akan tribes, A-K-A-N tribes, and the Iwe tribe in those group of tribes, so E-W-E, is where that mitochondrial lineage comes from his mother's side. Very important. Those Akan tribes in themselves are matriarchal, and the several classes that we've been doing, certainly the last three, Mother Circle of Existence, Lotus of Life, Revisited, and even this class teach you about the importance of our original societies were matriarchal in nature, not patriarchal. That's something that came in with a group of extraterrestrials referred to as the Anunnaki, who are the lords and gods of the monotheistic religions that most people follow today. Most people don't realize they've been copied or grafted from ancient tablets or Sumerian tablets that came several thousand years before those books even came into play. We've always been, and today we're matriarchal in nature, hence why they refer to God as a he, etc. And the idea that, as I say, woman came from the rib of a man, which is maybe possible by the author's hand, but impossible by the rules of nature. The lesser cannot give birth to the greater. The Y chromosome of the male is 2.5% less in material than the X chromosome, so therefore could not have given birth to the X chromosome. Understood? The only way that could have happened scientifically is if Adam himself, in their story at least, was a hermaphrodite. You understand? So either XYX or XXY. So he had to be a hermaphrodite. He had to carry the two X's in order to give birth to the female. They don't know nothing about that. So that book was translated and written by people, as I say, in the 16th century for the King James version of the Bible that they have today. I don't know nothing about no mitochondria, DNA. Let's keep it real. So if you're going to base your soul on that, then you better do your research into the language, understand who the people who the people were at that time, what their technological understanding was, etc., etc. Otherwise, as I say, you are heading down a path of soul capture, or your soul being reused by forces and beings who will be quite happy to get your soul as an etheric battery to sustain themselves for a particularly long time. Which, as we get into the science of religion, you'd understand exactly how this society has been set up to do that. So in order for us to walk back and set the record straight, then, as I say, we need to understand that, or we have to understand how kind of hows and whys, but how nature starts with the other or the mother first. Understood? And so this is why we show the origins of our teacher, because we're getting back to factual information as the new spirituality in this day and time, as this shift takes us away from faith and belief. So we're replacing faith, as I say, with taking back control of our fate, again, F-A-T-E, understood, and taking control of our destiny. And the word destiny links to the word destination. So clearly, when your mother gave birth to you, one of the things that she crafted, yes, your being, yeah, in her mind and physically in her body, hence that the importance of when a woman's with child or pregnant, as they say, what she's taking in mentally is very important, yeah, because the word imagination is actually a composite of two words, image, understood, and the word nation. So the woman has the power to shape and craft even the look of the being that she is outputting to be born. Understood? So image and nation, or imagination is completely and very important. Yes, but what is she giving birth to? And what are we supposed to be growing into? Maybe the thing. So we've been taught, and we're going to get into this a little bit later in this class, that we're men and women in the language of English, if you speak English as your main language, today. Yeah, so we're taught that we're men and women, but the question is, are we? And if we are men and women, well, what are we supposed to be growing into? So there is a difference between the what a person is, in this society at least, versus the who you are, you understand, insofar as what am I growing into? And what is the best way, you understand, to cultivate me in order to achieve that full potential or full growth potential, or that I achieve perfection in what I'm supposed to be transforming into once I step into this physical world and take on that journey, what they call life, understand, which is a burning process of taking in their oxygen, if we're doing proper breathing through our nose, and exhaling carbon dioxide out of our mouth. This is the journey for us, at least in the physical world. And when we take our last breath, understood, that journey stops in terms of the life journey, what we call life, that burning process. However, existence for us does not stop. Understand? And so all of that starts with the mother. And when we talk about cultivating after you've been born, that word cult or cultivate, which has been badly misrepresented in the English language definitions or so, is the word culture. Yeah, so your culture should match your genes, match your vibration, and our ancestors put a culture connected with our genes in order for us to relink back with them. If you understand that this, as I say, physical world of vibration is the lowest level, and as part of our ascension journey, we've been given a number of different tools, culture being one of those, language being one of those, rituals being another one of those, that help us to connect with our ancestors. Now, so being both physical and etheric or spiritual beings, so that when we transition, we stand the best chance, as I say, of going to that next level of existence for us. Now, that's not the same for all races on the planet, and we don't believe, or certainly don't adhere to, wrong racism in our culture. So we're not interested in the suppression of another race to further our own race. However, we are interested in, before we come together and are able to live equally, you understand, or even exceed other races in terms of their potential, we have to come knowing who we are, you understand? Otherwise, it leaves us open to manipulation from others to take advantage, maybe wrongly, of our talents and skills by way of wrong racism, suppression of another race to further your own race. You understand? Whereas right racism is dealing with racial pride. You understand? And no one wins the race in racism. You understand? And it's about race unity, not about racism. You understand? But in order to achieve that, you must come to the table whole. You understand? Not impersonating, another race and living after them and their likeness, because that's what makes them great. It's not what makes us great. You understand? So you can't achieve, can't fulfill your potential in second place. You must fulfill your potential in first place for you. You understand? Optimizing the things that benefit you and not others. That's nature's rules. Yes, you don't like it, there's no tough. You understand? There's no outside of existence. We're all in it together, so to speak, and must caretake it, or at least for now context, we must caretake accordingly and live according to our nature, so if we want to achieve the fullness of our ascension journey. So that starts with the other, and in the context of Malachi KZ York, our master teacher, in this day and time, and the source of what we're teaching today, Wu-Sabat, factual information, and those who follow the science of Wu-Sabat are known as Musbatu or Sabians. So Mary Abbot of Dr.York, arguably, as I say, one of the most important sacred feminines in this day and time, is the mother of Malachi Zekabina York Clan. As I say, a very important sacred feminine for us. You can see here, born March 10th, 1929, transitioned. And you see her in the clan mother attire as we go in the context of our tribal status as Yamati Native Americans on that side of our family. You see the lotus flowers there all throughout ancient Africa, ancient Egypt in particular, that culture, which is ours, yes, a symbol of regeneration. And if you want more information on that, seek out a book called The Lotus of Life or Mother Circle of Existence, or check out our classes on YouTube, going into that in a lot of detail. So his father, sacred masculine, Al-Hadi Abdur Rahman Al-Mahdi, another link, as I say, into the African journey there, and I say, not well known, I would say, because his life tragedy was cut short, being assassinated in 1970, but a great man nonetheless. The Sayyid family carries some weight, but links us back, as I say, to his grandfather and the master teacher's great-grandfather, this man here, Muhammad Ahmad al-Mahdi, known as the Mahdi in his story. As I say, a master spiritualist, a master of, I say, what they refer negatively as black magic, but black magic simply means when the forces of nature work for you and you are black. Yeah, so when it's used correctly, I'm talking about cutting chickens and that kind of nonsense, that's dealing with lower forces. But I'm talking when nature works for you and you are black. Yeah, so a master spiritualist defeated, as I say, the armies of Turkey and the United Kingdom at that time, and drove them out of Africa, fighting with spears, sticks, and stones, against machine guns, cannons, and other gunpowdered technology in that regard. As I say, using the forces of natural nature. A very prominent individual, say from the Dongolawi tribe, linking back, as I say, to our, or what they would classify in their story as pre-dynastic Egyptian past. He was not Sudanese in origin, though the Sayyid family is from Sudan. Yeah, okay. So go back to part one. We go into that in a lot more detail. I'm going to keep it easy today, just so we can get in some of our detailed subjects we want to talk about today. But this individual here, this is the master teacher at age 25, when he says he was housed by an entity referred to as El Khadir. Now, this always sounds strange to say, but in actuality, what you have to understand, family on the call and those joining us for the first time, whatever the case may be, is that indigenous people, when you think about our culture, or the culture of indigenous people all over the world, yes, I want you to do yourself a favor at some point. You can do it now or later on in the class. Look up the word artifacts. Yeah, look up the word artifacts, and it's in its etymological meaning. Yeah, the word artifacts. Yeah, so ARTIFAC. TS. Yeah, artifacts. Now, what you're going to see there is that, see the word, if you really think about it, it's artificial facts. Yeah, artificial facts. And artifacts is what archaeologists find, is what paleontologists find. Now, there's nothing wrong with digging stuff up out the ground, to find information, yes, about the past, or even beneath formation, because it's been there buried even though beneath formation does mean buried beneath the sea, but in this context, it's buried beneath the ground. And so people are digging up bones and various different artifacts, yes, to discover what has taken place in the past. Yes, when you look up the word artifact, you can see it is artificial or an unnatural way to find out what took place in the past. So the question you have to ask yourself, if artifacts is the artificial way, then what is the natural way to ascertain facts? And in this context, we understand that basically our ancestors and ancestors of different races out there come from above, which we classify that as outformation, understood, and provide us with information in order to transform us or keep us aligned with that ascension journey as they designed or placed within our genes what we are supposed to be growing into and beyond. Understood. So it may sound strange in this society, understood, that we're talking about our knowledge coming from outside of this planet in, yes, but the reality is the central core of our existence is the sun. 93 million miles away, varying, understood, and we are receiving outformation in the form of sun rays and cosmic energy, etc., from that entity every sort of waking moment of our being and of our existence. And if it wasn't there, then life as we know it certainly would disappear on this planet, Patanun, or Earth, within less than 6 weeks. Yes, so outformation coming to us in the form of information is really part of our existence that we were ignorant to. But now in a being, that's because obviously over time, we have been disconnected from our culture. We're not aware of the phenomena referred to as the Yaanuwn, Nabab, Rayay, Achat, Patah, you understand, which is a vehicle or a vessel that our ancestors used to speak through that individual every 25 or so thousand years, I'm saying 24 rounded down, to, as I say, correct us where we have moved away or strayed away, as the tablets refer to, from the original ways, you understand, of the universe. In this context, as I say, really to be ourselves, which is in the image and after likeness of our overseers, referred to as the Panapari, understood, who are sons. They're S-U-N, sons, yeah? So El Khadir was necessary because when they brought the science of Wu-Sabat to us in the 60s, it was too heavy for the people, understand? Even though when you read books that came out at that time, the Nine Ball in particular, it is a roadmap and a book to correct the African, you understand, or black race, you understand, to restore it back close to its pristine purity and get our minds back, really to have us thinking once again. Some of the practical things, it's not an esoteric book, has a lot of practical things in there, dealing with how the society was framed back then. Even some of the stuff is very relevant to today. Like, for example, forming a business or things of that nature, you should have it or plan to utilize what's here in this society, but work your way out so that you eventually have autonomy or have control once again. You know, if you're using the school system, for example, if we're using their school system or even our own, you know, get the children to decide what they want to do from a very early age, like 10, for example, so that by the time you're now going into, there's many different names for these there, but secondary school, or you're going into whatever, your 11 plus years, you can use the school system to decide or help you or shape your career from what you want to do. Now, they tend to leave the children with the absence of not deciding what you want to do in certain instances, not in some of the kind of higher level, maybe families or families where the legacy has become important to them. But if you're only deciding at 15, 16, when you're getting that careers advice, what you want to do, well, if you wanted to be a pilot, for example, and you've been doing art and drama as your selections, well, you've chosen the wrong subjects to help you to be a pilot, which is some more engineering based qualifications that you would have needed. So had you started that decision, for example, at 10 years old, then you can use the school system to shape what you want to do. You understand? If we look at a lot of characteristics of successful people, be it sportsmen and other types of things, they had quite a vivid view of what they wanted to be in a lot of instances, from a very early age, and were supported in pursuing that. You understand? Even though, I say, you can have a lot of challenges, so on and so forth, but were supported in doing it. You understand? So that was as I say, it still is a roadmap. And they say in various iterations, it's come back around again to be presented to us as a solution for our people. You understand? So this is very important when we talk about the context of this Yaanuwn Nabab Rayata, because it's allowing our ancestors not only to speak through this individual, to tailor, a doctrine for us, the medicine that's necessary for us to heal us and cure us in this day and time from this disease, as I say, primarily called racism, you understand, which has led us, to say, to be manipulated by others for their own self-serving interests. But it's important because, as I say, you get a disconnect of beings, as I say, who have been around for trillions of years, understood, trying to interpret who we are in this day and time, who are, sort of less than 46 trillion odd years old in that context about the human species, I should say. And in that context, us being born in this day and time, there's a misalignment, as I say, we say this all the time, but misalignment between parents and their own children in just one generational difference. We're into different things. We may speak or view the world from a perception point of view differently. And so you can get that disconnect between parents and child. So imagine now ancestors seeking to interpret how to best engage with us and get us to not only acknowledge their existence as one thing, because we've been so dumbfounded with religion in that context. We're not even recognizing the fact that we've got this power available to us. And so you've got a real challenge there. Hence why you have beings born amongst us to learn, but necessarily not of us, to learn our nature and then tailor the teachings according to how our mindset is, or we think it's a mindset, but it's really an imitation set. We're not really connected to proper mind. We're living in somebody else's mind and try and cure us, as I say, of that disease, to open up, see, all three of our eyes again, our two physical eyes and our mind's eye back again. So this combination was necessary, as I say, a combination of a number of teachers who had come along with a piece of the puzzle, talking about here, or truth. And what this being, as I say, or the master teacher showed us, is that these pieces of the puzzle that were brought by many teachers that came before all fit nicely together as a corrective medicine, as I say, to get us from what our mindset was, say, particularly more acutely 400 years ago, when we were taken through forcible kidnapping from our homeland and forced to adopt a culture that was not our own. And unnaturally, it created this new hybrid being called the Negro. Stood from the Latin word negra, you understand? And it basically means dead. Stood, yeah? So, or necros, they say dead. And necro means black, excuse me. It comes from the word necromancy, it means dead. So our mind was dead. A being who looked like us, but thought like them. You understand? And our mind was dead. Yeah, cut off from our mental, understood? And so a corrective set of actions were needed before the end of the 24,000 year cycle to bring, as I say, those descendants back from the first people on the planet here, of the Sands people, in order to bring them back into knowledge of who we are. Is that because the time is critical? Do you understand? The planet itself is going through a renewal cycle, and it's the optimum time for us to achieve transformation when, as I say, the 24,000 year cycle at least comes to renew itself. So moving from what they refer to as the moon cycle, which ended in 1970, ending in 1970 or coming towards the end, 1970, down, coming into the new year 2000, which marked a shift, change into the sun cycle, and us now becoming who and what we are once again. And so in order to correct that, though, the religious mind that we'd had for monotheistic religion, belief, and faith in that context needed to be addressed by correcting the misinformation in those religions, bringing it to a level of truth that would be useful for us, then to show us actually this came from something that existed before. It wasn't the start, you understand, as they classify it, as it was a beginning, you understand, but it wasn't the absolute start of things, you understand, just a beginning of many beginnings, but realizing that you were getting that through the mind of the authors at that time. Do you understand? So was that the truth? And the fact of the matter is they haven't proven anything in the Bible today that is factual, that it exists. None of the characters in their book actually been proven to have existed in reality. So until that is the case, then it's only in the minds of the authors who wrote the books. They say they have the oldest of these books, oldest Quran, oldest Bible, oldest Torah. Old does not mean first, or does not mean original. It just means old. So where's the original? Everything for ontology, we're interested in the root of the thing. Understood? Old can still be wrong, isn't it? Someone's copied down the words wrong, misinterpreted, such and such and so forth. So you can't rely on that. If you can't rely on it, then guess what? We need new stuff or renewed stuff in order to help us to progress. Yeah. So this first instance was, say, the combination of this Amun Nabab Akhtar was, as say, the physical being, Dr. Malachi Dr.York, that time was Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi, and housed by al-Khadir. And they addressed for over 30 years all the different religious degrees, and it's hundreds of books written to simply address, you understand, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and many different other religions there at the time to help us get to an understanding. So right knowledge, which is simply saying right information or correct knowledge. Right wisdom, which is the application of that knowledge or being able to apply knowledge at the right time is right wisdom, because you can have right knowledge applied at the wrong time, which should be wrong wisdom. Right knowledge at the right time is right wisdom. And basically, when one is, those two combinations of things needs to right understanding. Understood? Then what we will be seeking to do is lead into, from an understanding into an overstanding, right overstanding, and that leads to a state of Wu-Sabat, or previously Wu-Sabat, meaning to say sound right reasoning. So we're thinking in our own mind once again and making decisions accordingly. You understand? Not necessarily just based upon a multiple choice society that we live in today, and we think that choice is thinking when it isn't. You understand? True thinking and on into, let's say, ability to reason. Understand? Ability to reason or be a son of Ray once again is obviously crucial for us. Yeah, so this combination was necessary, say, and once the so-called devil's rule had ended, the 6,000-year rule, 9th of September 1999, a new combination was needed to take us into where we are now, to bring us what they had originally brought in the 60s, but now to give us the true science. Understand? Because that science, or the spiritual science, is associated to race, and it helps those races, or planetary nations is the updated term, to unify mentally, and then the physical unity can therefore follow. It informs what they are culturally. It informs what their language is. You understand? All of these things, are linked to a person's genes and genetics. You understand? Even, let's add that even on to the part of the world that is best place for them to exist upon. You understand? Because of choice, and so not wrong with choice, but because of choice, yes, we are choosing things because of the ability to choose in this multiple choice society, things that may be unnatural to our being, unnatural to our spiritual development, unnatural to feed our etheric self. Do you understand? So because of choice. Yeah, and bad information is not giving you the ability to make those correct choices. Yeah, because the society was based upon not your vibration, look, or being. It was based on somebody else's. You understand? Instead of them to acknowledge this fact so that things can be tailored according to the person's race, for example, just like we do for everything else, isn't it? You don't treat all plants the same. You don't treat all animals the same. Even in the physical and the artificial world, we don't treat all building structures the same. There's an optimum way to build certain structures versus other structures. When it comes to race now, all of a sudden, we can only do what is best for the European in the Western Hemisphere. What is best for the European is the standard. We must accept it and live by it. Anybody who tries to steer off from that vibration, certainly who's black, gets labeled black supremacist, black this, black power, all this kind of stuff. Do you understand? Which, I say, it's not who we are as Sabians, but that was also part of not black power, but in order to deal with racism, you have to have a counter to that, don't you? You have to, because, as I say, we talked about in this class many times before, a domestic violence victim, for example, sometimes needs to be around other women in a safe environment, understood, and to get her back, because the person has really transformed into a shell of what they were before, in the context of, say, female domestic violence. And it's a case of, it may be a pro-woman environment, isn't it? It's a pro-female environment, female empowerment. Yeah, so if you come along, I suppose, as a man, you're going to feel anti-men. You might feel anti-men, but that's necessary for the healing of the person. Like, as I say, the poison is in the antidote. It's necessary healing for the person. As I say, in our context, it was necessary for us, to have a form of racism or a tinge of it, maybe called black power. It might look like black power, but you knew it wasn't that, because the term "no one wins a race in racism" was coined by the same person who told you to be racist. You understand? So the information is medicine, or outformation coming to us in the form of information is medicine. Yeah, from our outformational ancestors into our informational present being. The information is reshaping your being to be realigned with your outformational ancestors once again. The science of Wu-Sabat, yes, is to transform information into outformation. This is the science of Wu-Sabat. Understood? Yeah, and so you don't realize the information is you. Because you are the ones, or we are the ones, trapped in a certain formation. Yeah, not in our own mind, but in his mind. And therefore, in order to transform us, first we have to accept our culture, the information which is best for us. This is why it's called right knowledge. You understand? Because it's right for us. Doesn't mean that others can't benefit from it, but it's right for us. brought to us by our teacher, as other people have had their own teachers. You understand? In that regard. So that's a brief summary of who we are and what we're going to get into today. So, as I say, 1996 was the turning point. Holy Tablets was released, the bridge between religion and reality. A new combination was needed. Dr. Malachi York and the entity there known as Nabab Yaanuwn. So, giving us, as I say, the next 30 years, from 2000 to 230, our own culture, leading to Partarak, our way, you understand? Giving us our moral compass once again, how we do things, you understand? Our guidance for us, the master secrets and the actual facts, and no more, I say, taking us away from symbolism into now what things actually are, what do these stories that we've been given for so many years, what did they really allude to? What did they mean? What was all the subterfuge? Moving all that away, getting us back to actual facts again. In a sense, so we can become who we are as opposed to what we became in this society by way of bad information and bad environments, I say, that we found ourselves in. Because this is also one of the keys, that 24% of your DNA is in an active transient state, reacting in an epigenetic way to the environment in and around us. So ours, as we're careful to ensure that our environment reflected who we are. Yeah, who are we? Well, we are terrestrial representations or incarnations of the sun. Do you understand? And so when we built our structures, understood, our structures were shaped like what? The heavens. But nothing to do with Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. It's to do with how our culture is, because we were incarnated sons. And in order to control or produce the right environment for us, we reshaped heaven on earth, because we were sons in the heavens, or the terrestrial representation of the sons, which is where we get our mindset from. Yeah, those entities referred to as sons. Let me step through this and ask more questions on it. We can get more into the subject today. Any questions, by the way, going to somewhere we were before?
Right, we have no questions so far. I'm checking the chat. No questions.
Q&A button, no questions, no?
No questions.
Okay, excellent. All right, so what I'll do to wake people up a bit, get you to do a bit of work, have a recap quiz. I've gone easy on you today, people. I've gone easy. I've only 5 questions. Yeah, so I've gone easy today. And then what that'll help us to do, help you to just have a little guess. It's not deep, it's anonymous, not keeping anybody's score or whatever. Just try. So black people running away from any kind of test or exam or whatever. Just try if you want to. I'm not forcing you, but try, and then we can look at the answers together and then just go through. Because it will help us just to cover, for those who haven't, let's say, maybe been here for parts 1 to 4, this particular book that we're talking about called The Proof. Okay, so I'm going to launch this. I'm going to give you, it's now 14:27. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to go through 5 questions. I can't be fair than that. It's been very easy. Yeah, so, and then we'll go through them. But best guess, just to get you thinking. Okay, let's get this slow moving Zoom to get us to where we need to be. We'll run that, as I say, that's 14:28 by the time we start the quiz, probably closer to 14:30. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to stop the video. It's a bit quicker. I'll switch it back on again. Okay, so you've got 5 questions, should be up on your screen. That includes the moderator. You're able to answer the questions now as well. So do your best, and then we'll go through the 5 answers together as a bit of a recap, and then step into what we were covering previously in part 4, now into part 5. Okay, so I'm going on mute for 10 minutes, and I'll be back once you've all completed the quiz. Okay, I'll give you 4 minutes to answer those. At the 4-minute mark, we'll start back at 20 to 3 our time. That's going to be UK time. 4 minutes left. Excuse me. Just joined us. There's a recap quiz going on. Just do your best in terms of answering. It's not not keeping score or anything of that nature. It's completely anonymous, but just to get you into your brain into gear. 3 minutes left. Come on, family, it's not that difficult. I should see more completions here. Obviously, they don't appear until you've answered all the 5 questions. I'd say it's not that difficult just to get our minds into gear. So be seeing more completions. Got 2 minutes left. Okay, right. So going to end that now. So if you're going to answer your last questions, please feel free to do so. So I'm going to end the poll now, the recap quiz. So camera up. Okay, right. So let's go through the questions one by one then. If you're on Facebook, you probably won't see this. So let's say full interactive experience, use the link below, above in the chat, just to see what's going on when we do these quizzes. All right, so first question was, a wise person is taught to blank. A fool is taught only to blank and blank. So you have to fill in the blanks there. And mysteriously, I had those answers on the screen, but if you would pay attention. So a wise person is taught to learn. The fool is taught only to listen and believe. Yes, that was the correct answer in that regard for number one. Yeah, so a new mindset really for us in this day and time. That's really important to convey. So question number two. What grew absolute natural nature from and out of omniverse all to universe the all? Yeah, a bit of a tricky one there if you hadn't sort of been in the classes beforehand. Let me just click on to Zoom, go down to the answers there. So the correct answer there would have been sons as overseers. Yeah, so sons is what grew absolute natural nature from and out of omniverse all to universe the all. Yeah, I don't know if we had that answer here. Just so we can show you where that was, so that we were teaching new. Yeah, so we can see here, verse 1. The sons, the true Kakabat stars, are Natharu, the overseers, who grew absolute natural nature from and of omniverse all into the universe, the all. Understand? So, Natharu are sons. So when we're thinking about our etheric ancestors, that's because, as I've explained many times before, but one of the tricks they've done is they've taken away the clear image of what God, or if you use these terms, Most High is to us. Understood? So when you think about your mother, if you know who your mother is, you have a vivid image. When you think about your father, if you know who they are, you have a vivid image. Brothers, sisters, you have a vivid image. The moment somebody says God or Allah, etc., you don't have this image. Yet the clues were there on the walls of ancient Africa, ancient Egypt, you understand, to show exactly, you understand, who we were speaking about when we were speaking about the Panatharu, the overseers. Yeah, as you can see here, receiving outformation. Outformation is being emitted, being received in the form of information. You see with their hands there. Hands there, you see on the Ka'a symbol, understood? Which means spirit. Now, so that was that answer for that one. Yeah, and I think the second one's also on there as well. And that one is on there as well. Any questions about the questions? Feel free to ask. Let me go back up here. Question 3. What was question 3? So the next question was, why is truth unity? And this is what we've spent almost 4 parts of a class going into just this particular verse. You understand? You can see the answer there. Truth is unity because the pieces of the true jigsaw puzzle fit neatly together as one unit. So what we've been going through in these classes, showing you the correlation, haven't we? Yeah, between, these pieces of the puzzle and how they fit together, and how there's correlation between these pieces. Understood? And how the game almost has been played where it has diverted us away from seeing the simple truth. We showed you an image there of, it's always been there who our deities were, and we're not different to them. We are them. We're just a terrestrial or the earthly version of the sun. The same characteristics. We breathe in the oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. Understood? If you study the characteristics of a sun or star, you see that we have those same characteristics. You understand? We have an internal sun referred to as a solar plexus. Yeah, there was an argument, I think, on one of these, not argument, but there was a discussion that was taking place to do with the legal, I think it was on Moorish TV or one of the channels, which I was watching with some Sabians, speaking to a brother who had come on asking a question and was bigging up the kind of education system. Understood? The issue is that, and we'll get into this a little bit further, is educate, just because you name something doesn't mean you know what it is. It's a famous saying of Dr. Malachi KZ York. And a prime example of that is the word pyramid. If I showed a picture of a tetrahedron shape, the person might say, for example, that is a pyramid. Yeah, just say we took the pyramids of Giza and we put them up on the screen and we said, well, what is that? A person will say, oh, yes, that is a pyramid. Then we have to think, well, okay, what does the word pyramid mean? This is why the master teachers come along to have to address our mindset. Yeah, because a person will say, okay, well, that's a pyramid. Okay, cool. What does the word pyramid mean? Okay, well, pyra. You think about pyra. Okay, pyra. Okay, it means fire, correct? Pyrotechnics, you understand? You got Pyrex dishes, which is a make of glass, isn't it? That can withstand heat, you know, glass you can put in the oven, yeah, for cooking, etc., etc. So, pyra means fire, correct? What does mid mean? Mid means middle. Yes? So, what does middle fire have to do with pyramid? A tetrahedron shape. So, just because you name something, you understand, doesn't mean you know what it is. The word chromosome is another one. Chroma, you understand, means color. So means body. Yeah, and it relates, it doesn't tell you what the thing is. A colored body. Now, it got its name from scientists who were studying it in a petri dish and the dye they had to use to make this particular entity stand out when they were studying it under a microscope. So that colored body is to do with a dye that was injected. It doesn't tell you what it is. So a person claiming education or edited dictation stood over thinking or facts, let's say, into thinking, into reasoning, yeah, you know, is flawed in their thinking because your thinking is in somebody else's mind who themselves don't understand the context of how certain things came around. A person will go to university. I'm a university graduate. Many people are college graduate in brothers around the world. You wear a square. They give you this hat. You wear a square on top of your head. Correct? What does it mean? Why are you wearing the cap and gown, as they call it? What does it mean? Do they tell you? Do they inform you of why you're wearing that square? You go to university, you come with a bachelor's degree in the first degree. You then progress to a master's. You then progress, you understand, to a doctorate. You then progress to being a professor. The word professor or profess, it means to speak out publicly. So how can a professor, somebody who speaks someone's paying
Right, okay.
No problem, no problem. Okay, all right, so right, so yeah, so I was saying that the professor, without the context, appreciate that, family. So without the context, it's difficult. People think they're educated, but without the context of what's being expressed, you don't really know what you're talking about. And it's saying that, as I say, just because somebody names something, they may put a lot of stock in education. They may put and trying to assert, well, because you're coming with this newfound or new brand information, which doesn't correlate to what society is saying is the authentic information, then they've got names for you, isn't it? Like cult and other things of that nature. But in actuality, when you really put their sources to the test, do they even know what they're talking about? As I say, the word professor, if that is the top position where a person is saying professing, which is to speak publicly, then how is that higher than a master? Do you understand? Because they don't understand context. Greeks and Romans stole information, more so Greeks, were taught under us in ancient Africa in our study or areas of study in the true universities. And we gave them a certain type level of information. They've gone out there, and that is what really has formed the information sources of the modern world today and through their nature, they destroyed or did their best to seek to destroy opposing sources of knowledge that would stop them from being the authority. Because as you know, the three words are connected, aren't they? If you don't have enough authors, you don't have the authority, and therefore you don't decide what is or what is not accepted as authentic. You understand? Author, authority, authentic. So they don't know why is the situation. And what I was explaining before we got cut off was that in our homeland, in ancient Egypt, ancient Africa, you went to the universities in order to study. Three in particular, in fact. Yeah, who the Greeks call Heliopolis, Thebes, and Memphis, yeah, which ties back into HTM, for those who are old enough from the call to remember that school. Yeah, so we went to those universities to study and pick up certain degrees. Yeah, remember, 360 degrees in a circle, not 1 degree. So people think they know something, but don't understand the context. And they're not going to tell you if they do know. That's part of the information they're going to keep hidden, which is why I was explaining to you. They don't tell you what the cap and gown symbolizes when you graduate. And why is a pyramid, we call it a pyramid, yeah, which is in somebody else's language, not the language of the original people, what they named it, who built it. What does middle fire have to do with a tetrahedron shape? It's because the original pyramid, understood, is the human nose. The human nose, yeah, why you've got those, well, those on the call with those big ass nostrils, you understand, that we've got, understood, that we were ridiculed for when we were, when we were children in school, yeah, those big ass nostrils are the pyramid, isn't it? You are taking in oxygen through your nose, the original pyramid shape, understood, taking it down into your structure, and a chemical process takes place, yes, which helps to fire up, yeah, what they refer to as your solar plexus. Yeah, a firing up, a chemical process takes place in our lungs, which ignites the oxygen in the blood. We are literally burning black. This is why when a person stops breathing, what happens to the color in their body? Yeah, it goes, they lose the color, isn't it? It goes lifeless, cold. So the reason why it's called middle fire is because the original shape or the original pyramid is one's nose, or the African woman and African man's nose. Yes? Internal. He. External. Or who he. Yeah? Yeah, that is what is firing up the middle fire, the pyramid, not the shape. Understood? Yeah, what does that the pyramid also do? Where in above the pyramid, which is when it's shown properly, because they build it without the capstone. You understand? The top of the pyramid is flat. Yeah, the capstone was removed. What's on the capstone? Well, you saw it when the master teacher rebuilt Tamaray. On the black mirror, they put the capstone back on it. Yeah, before it was stolen. What does the capstone show? It shows the picture of an eye, the all-seeing eye, which is what? Your third eye is above the nose, which with the proper sound and tonation opens up one's third eye, which is why, as you say, they changed the music. Modern music goes away from natural sound and is in the A range at 440 hertz. Our brother Harat M. Habab Jadef Ray Hattab is doing a class, I think in 2 weeks' time, called The Science of Sound, Part 2, don't miss it. You understand? Because certain singers, yeah, the Anita Bakers and stuff with not the falsetto sound, but the more bassier sound, deeper voice, it activated certain bones in the nose. understood, which vibrate and they cause your third eye to open, which is why you hear the om sound in the background, isn't it? Yeah, when a person does their om, they take their breath inside or the sound inside, they take it to the back of the mouth, and then they try and make it flow circularly and bring it back outside, pushing it up into the nose area to cause your nose bones to vibrate. This helps to open up the third eye. Yeah. Yeah, 3 tones in one. You understand? To open up the third eye. This is the original pyramid. So the master teacher coming along and giving context, okay, that's why that's named. In fact, what's it in our language? It's called mir. What is the word for mir? Mir is the name for the third eye. You understand? Because obviously what happened, we came from the waters of this planet. And we used to live under the waters, called what? Mer or mir men and mir women. Understood? Yeah, so you're seeing with sound what dolphins do. Who's our closest ancestor on this planet? Somebody else is the monkey. We're not from the monkey line. Monkey to us means moon key. I'm going to show you a little bit later. The key to unlock the moon cycle. The master's key. Mermen and merwomen, because we saw, you understand, we saw with our mind's eye as well as our physical eyes. Like dolphins see by way of vibration, is the echolocation. They see with sound. Which when we came out of the waters becomes our third eye. The same characteristic when we're walking upright. Yeah, so you can see they don't know what they're talking about. But the problem is we've been spellbound into thinking that they do. Where the term is said, you have to, everything that they've ever taught you is a lie. So we have to what? You have to re-add by way of reading, understand, and unlearn some of the things that we have been taught. Is what when you really analyze how deep this spell is, and it's been characterized by that as the master teacher. That's why it's called Dr. Malachi, because the word dosia, obviously from the Latin word means to teach, isn't it? But it's also the name synonymous with healing, because we're sick, to do with us being cut off from our true mental, not thinking again, without the context, and then what? Without the trust, because we mistrust our teachers and our leaders, or we've been taught to ignore leadership in black skin color. Is also part of this spell. So when somebody comes along and teaches you something from your stuff, you say, oh, well, it has to confirm itself against the standard educational sources, or the ones which are authentic, or the ones which are the status quo, or the ones which are what? Recognized. Yeah, as we said, they give rights to the copier, not to the originators. Somebody can go and take a picture of a pyramid in Africa right now. Let's say they're of European or Euro-American descent. They come back with the picture. They put it on a website. You as a black person connected, yeah, genetically to those ancient Egyptians, yeah, the Kadem, Mugmatu. You take that picture and you say, okay, I'll put it on my website. They will sue you for copyright. But where was the respect? Where was the resource? Where was the energy? Where was that for the people who built it and their descendants? Where are their rights? You understand? They give the right to those who copy, not to the originators. Made this point before. So the only way the originators are going to get their rights back is if the original people, their descendants, get back into their mindset of who they're supposed to be and make that connection in the now. Because you are them, they are you. But you have to get back into their mindset to become them once again, or the new version or renewed version of them today. Because you can see there's a missing bit of knowledge, context, understood, yes, where he doesn't explain it or doesn't know. Because you're giving him more credit than he deserves. You think he knows a lot more than what he does. You think he's in more control than what he really is. And that's part of the illusion as well. Yeah, somebody else, I think, I'll flash up what the cap and gown is. Good question. Ask them. Because when we graduated, they should have told you what it meant. A square, interesting, you're wearing your head, which is 360 degrees. Okay, interesting. A circle is also 360 degrees. The science of the circle and the square, which we've explained in this class many times. Yes, science of creation. But ask them, innit? Ask them what they mean. Why? What does a cap and gown mean? We know what it means to us, and we know where they got it from. Yeah, not to be mysterious in that way, but it ties into the forming of the atom, science of the circle and the square. Understand? Now, long-winded way of answering number. Why truth is unity, which was a question, is because this correlation is how, as I say, the pyramid example we gave you is to show you, excuse me, how, let's say, things in natural nature, how they correlate to natural design. So, as I say, you, for example, 71% of the liquid in your body, do you understand? Excuse me, 71% of your body's liquid, 29% broadly is solid. The planet today, you understand, 71% is water, you understand, and then 29% is what you call land. So that correlation, understood, it forms part of that truth that is being expressed in that verse. Yeah, that when you put the pieces of the puzzle together, it makes one big picture. And the problem of what it is, we wasn't conversant even of the picture, the puzzle, or even showing interest in looking towards, if we're here in the West, symbolically looking back towards the East, yeah, to see what took place in the past. You understand? But as I say, the walls, pictures were left on the walls, but remember, we also had the living Nathar incarnated to reteach. Yeah, that's where the love comes in. The divine love comes in, that's York. You understand? Sending one in and amongst us to teach. And you've seen what has happened to our teachers, be it the Noble Dralis, be it the Marcus Garveys. Do you understand? Be it the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's. Not only are we as a people hard-headed, but those who want to stop us from coming back or transforming, what has it resulted in? Death. You understand? Defamation. Yeah. Family issues taken away from them because of stress and the pressure. You understand? Of trying to be here for people that won't listen. Hard-headed people, innit? Human beings who think they know. Egotistical, I think, in the extraterrestrial books, it gives the characteristics of human beings. Egotistical is one of the characteristics. Yeah, we think we know, and we don't know nothing. Yeah, so all this has to be recorrected. So our energy itself is directing itself, or our spiritual energy is directing itself in the right direction to our ancestors, not to lower, one or even below, sub one, below 1 to 6 ether forces, where it will not be of your own ancestry. And this is what we were trying to show you with the science of religion, interference of the dead into the lives of the living. Understood? Okay, so number 4 was then complete the growth sequence for these entities. So a bit of a tricky question, this one, but not too tricky if you really think or look at the clues. Yeah. So we went multiverses. Yeah. And then answer one. What's after multiverse? Well, multiverses would be 9. So after 9 would be octaverse. Theophoniverse is an ancient word, Old English word for 7. Hexaverse is 6. So pentaverse would be 5, wouldn't it? Yeah, because that's the next one down. Quadverses is 4. Triverses, yeah, which would be 3. So your answers 3 and 4 are going to be dualverse, yes, and universe as the last point. Yeah, so as things evolve from all, yeah, to become the all, yes, we are going through several growth stages within that. So the omniverse is full of multiverses. Understood? Yeah. Universe is one type of entity, isn't it? Within existence. So you are a universe who came from a dual verse, i.e., your mother and your father. And it's, for some human beings, they may come from a triversal situation. If you think about, for example, instances where females, they can do a thing now where some females, their mitochondrial DNA is defective, so they transplant a secondary person's mitochondrial DNA into the host woman, and that gives you a triversal situation because you've got 3 entities there that are producing the one being. Understood? So this is just showing you again that correlation that you are a universe, which means diverse energy into one form, which has been covered in previous parts of this class. The 5th and last question then was, what was the opposite of dark or antimatter? Understand? So you had some options here, all kind of a little bit tricky, but he was looking for a specific answer here. So say dark matter, which again, it's got its name because they say they, as in those controlling information right now, and who consider themselves the authority, have named it dark matter. They know something's there, yeah, particles are there, but they can't see it with the physical eye. But they know something's there because the mass of the universe, in terms of its structure, there's not enough things that you can see that make up that mass. And so, and as we know from our own ontological calculations, but basically light, or as the entity of light, only makes up 10% of existence. The rest of it is 90% is dark matter and dark energy. So 76% dark energy, 24% dark matter or material. Its opposite is lighted matter. Really helps us there. That's the master teacher helping us through our understanding. Yeah, lighted matter, or also known as atomic matter. So the first 2 answers there would have been correct. And let's take a little bit of a risk here by trying to get the whiteboard up. So let's see if this will work for us. Just for those who maybe joined us for the first time, might have a clue what the hell we're talking about. See if this works. Okay. So has the screen turned white? Matthew?
Yes, it's white.
It has. It's turned white. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So basically, let's put that there. I remember we showed you in a previous class there and there, isn't it? Yeah. So what's this sign here? That's considered badly drawn, a percentage sign, correct? So what they don't tell you is that basically that percentage sign is talking about exactly what we've just expressed. So it is the difference between where they previously thought hydrogen was the first point of existence, you understand, which is the first atom out of the 99 naturally occurring elements, as they've classified it as. But when the hydrogen atom was in the 60s through a cyclotron, smashed into, well, they took two of them and smashed them together, understood, and found out there were smaller particles called quantum particles of what it was made up of, zeals, biaps, and zelis, understood, among others, understood. So here, what we've ended up with is that we've got, it takes us from the world of matter on this side, or lighted matter. Let's get the spelling right. Yeah, so lighted matter on this side. Yeah, you can see what that is. Yeah. Lighted matter. Yeah, on this side. Yeah, and then hydrogen as the number one, that would be the first point of atomic matter. Yeah, or the first point, atom. Hydrogen. But there, when you go now, so this is the matter side, and this would be considered to be. So now, doing silly stuff. And this would be the energy side. Yeah, so this would be the energy side on the left-hand side. Let's get that. Yeah, so this would be the energy side on this side. Yeah, so, and in order to make the distinction, we sometimes will use the terminology here. Yeah, energy. Let's turn this smart recognition off. In order to make the distinction on this side, we refer to this as energy matter. Yes, or you could say matter energy. Does that make sense? Yeah. So energy matter on this side because there's still particles, understood, and it still matters to us. It doesn't matter to them, is because they don't have a link to the original world of things, that subatomic or quantum world, understood, because they don't have the entity in them referred to as the sun. You remember we talked earlier about, okay, the sun grew natural nature. You understand? Yeah, from where? All into the all. Right? The sun is grown out of darkness. The existence is darkness. Yeah, so the sun had a origin before it appeared, understand, into the physical, the same way you do. Understood? So the reality of the situation is that the percentage sign that we were given symbolizes, yes, that percentage sign that we were given symbolizes that separation between lighted matter, or the world of lighted matter, and dark matter. Understand? Or if we had to say it here to keep it simple for everybody, the material world or matter, yes, because that transition point, yeah, that transition point there is you're stepping into hydrogen. So pre-hydrogen, you understand, is where that transition point is. Because if you think about it now, the planet is on a 23.5-degree axis. When you put it back to its perpendicular axis, which is what it originally was, and its perpendicular axis, then you start to see, in terms of us explaining to you, with the master teacher giving us context, yes, you now see what? Well, we see here 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side, because that's, you understand, that's 0, 1. And then if we go this side, we're going, yeah, 3, 4, yeah, and this is what your 10 really symbolizes. This is what your 01 is. Yeah, so to us, yes, 1, which is whole, yeah, because, or symbolizes 100%. Because when you think about 2, yes, what they don't tell you is well, how does 1 become 2? Yeah, what? Because we say it does. If I draw that, okay, put 2, we put 3 lines, yeah, that makes sense. Do you understand? But as we've tried to explain to you, get you thinking many times before, how does that become that? Because you don't understand we were never given the context. The mathematical, before we learned maths, i.e. the numbers, we were supposed to have learned the periodic table. Yeah, i.e. hydrogen, helium, so on and so forth. Because that would teach us how one entity transforms into another one. Do you understand? How one becomes two. Yeah, so as you've seen it written before, yeah, it's really 1% of one. You talk about there's no such thing as a number one. It's 1% of one. And when you get to 99% of one, in order for that to become whole, you have to take 1% of the thing it's transforming into. So 1% of two makes that whole. Yeah, so one thing is transforming into something else, or it's going to be something like that. Yeah, something's transforming into something else, not separate entities. Yeah, you're looking at energy or matter in transition. Yeah, or transformation, it's changing form. Understood? So how they've given you all these numbers and things of that nature, without the context, it doesn't make sense. You understand? So one, let's get rid of this screen, some stuff on the screen. Yeah, so one, which symbolized, remember, as we showed you, you talk about mother, yeah, or M other, they say, yeah, M and Adir or ether or M other, you understand? Because the original, the mother is what? She's giving off a version of herself. Yeah, the M other, a version of herself. So to us, one meant what? Equaled uniform. Because the true form is the whole, is pa'ut, it's all. That is the true form. Yeah, pa'ut, the whole. And from the whole, understood, you get zero, which equals version. Do you understand? So the zero in this other context, it symbolizes version. Yeah, remember they took that, or the M in Roman numerals is what? M symbolizes what number? 1,000. Yeah, so to us, one can be one, it can be, it can symbolize 10. You understand? Yeah, because the key thing is this. Yeah, the M. Yeah, which in their languages, remember, as we showed you before, in what? Arabic is the word for what? Mother. Yeah, we say M. Yeah, EM is the Hebrew word for what? Mother. In Freemasonry, what's the highest of the 3 degrees? 2 M's, an M and M. There's a rapper called Eminem in there. Yeah. So you see here where they've taken the stuff which symbolizes, say, 1,000, the perfect number for us, isn't it? Yeah. Mother, and then look, reptilian phase, Ramadian phase, yeah, shaggy phase. The 3 trimesters, you understand, of a human being born. So without the context, you've got a master teacher, you understand? Yes? And what did we say earlier? We said we were what? We were terrestrial representations of the sun. Yes? So what do you call your mother? Ma. What's this word here? Star. The mother star gives birth to what? Other stars, student teachers. Giving birth to what? not children. He refers to us what as his children. Is it my beloved children? Why? Because giving birth to a new mindset. Yeah, truth will set you free or make you free. Yeah, understanding how it all fits together and who are the pieces of the real and true jigsaw. You. We are ha pa'ut, the all, within all. Yeah, because the rules of things say that the rules of a thing and all things are exactly the same. Yeah, you are a thing. What is a thing? A thing is a nawet mukwanu, they say, supreme being, or nawet mukwan, supreme being. We were covering in the earlier parts of the class. Yeah, so when we're looking up in the what they're calling the so-called night sky into space, yeah, we are looking at our story. And no black person, as they call you black, should be ignorant or should be ignoring the blackness. That was ignorance, isn't it? We're focused on the light. But most of existence is darkness. Overwhelmingly, it's darkness. 90%. Do you understand? So the reality of the situation is we've never had access to our story because we've never spoken or learned the language of our ancestors. We're interpreting it through English. And we've been blessed, as I say, to have one amongst us who took the time to, decode and break down, etc., it in a way that you would at least have access to the secrets that they were keeping from you, if they even understood it. But now, as I say, you've been given back a language so that you can definitely get back into the mindset of your ancestors. You understand? So we shouldn't be ignorant of the dark. You've been given the master's key with your third eye open to step into the darkness. To them, darkness is evil because the lack of vitamin A at a certain point in their eyes made it difficult for them to see in the dark. Whereas you were designed to see in darkness better than you are in light. Yeah, picking up something called visual purple. Go and do your research. Don't believe me. Check it out. Look at what is on your retina. Not what they say, how it works, what it is designed to do. Rods and cones. Look at what the abundance of that you have in comparison to the other. Yeah, divine design, if you want to refer to it as that. You understand? So this is, because it's coming from a black man, not myself, you understand? But the master teacher is not respected in his society. Yeah, because you know who they made the go-to guy. Yeah, so God to them is nothing more than a white male. That is God. Yeah, the wizard sitting behind on the throne, you understand, who the Wizard of Oz, no one knew. No one knew what he looked like. This was the mystery. But when they found out, it's all the things that they attributed to this myth, when they got to see who it was, it's just a white man. An illusionist sitting behind the door. So you don't want to wait until you die to find out, you understand, that is the case. And you haven't done enough in this opportunity of life to perfect yourself, you understand, so that you can continue your ascension journey and not be, as I say, an etheric battery for lower entities, because they tricked you in this world, as I say, to make the wrong kind of choices, yes, where you were just food to feed their forces. Understand? This is what we were explaining in those previous parts about how the society is set up in a way to take advantage of your energy at all times. You watch a movie, you understand? Is it a positive experience generally through that television? We watch it for entertainment, and look that word up. We watch it for entertainment, but what type of energy does it elicit from us? Because black people are between black exploitation and black humiliation. Yeah, and you have to manage your emotions when you're watching things, especially if you've got even a little bit of kind of self-awareness and knowledge to see all the games that get played in a movie. If there's two black people in a movie, they'll be arguing against each other in the movie. If there's a black man and a black woman in a movie, they'll have them at conflict with each other in the movie. Now, all these subliminals, you understand? And you have to think about what type of emotion is it eliciting from me that I'm kind of suppressing in some instances, holding back or frustration, whatever the case may be. And then the question is, who's feeding off of that? Who is feeding off of that emotion? Because that's what's called a movie, correct? It's designed to move you emotionally. Who is feeding off of that emotion? Who is feeding off of that energy? And just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Use your eyes. You only can see between 400 to 700 nanometers. That is not the entirety of the size of the electromagnetic spectrum. So it's factual information as we see that cuts off, the supply line of 6 ether. Yeah, which is what we were seeking to show you before. Let's get into it. We kind of merge what we were talking about today with going through these questions. Yeah, so let me go on to explore that a little bit further now. Yeah, we were doing with part 4. Any questions? Sorry, any questions? Stop sharing on this screen and move to the other one now.
Screens. Chat, right. Okay. We've got no questions on chat and no questions in the Q&A.
Okay. All right, so let's go to a little bit what we were just talking about there. Now I've just mentioned it. We were at 120 at the end of part 4. Or it doesn't mean nothing to you, it means something to me. You slide 120, which we were in the middle of this book, Partarak, and we were speaking about Pa'ut. But I'm going to jump forward just to explain what I'm talking about in so what you have to realize is that, okay, so the two forces, this is step, so just for the newer people, when we talk about the two forces or primary forces, we're talking about 9, which, as I say, for us, numerology is also part of the key to us understanding who we are. So numerology, we do facts, factologists, and we're interested in the essence of a thing. So we do ontology. Now, the science of the black woman and man, understood, is referred to as Wu-Sabat, understand? But originally, it's dealing with the science of Nupu, which you can see here. The 9 represents, as you can see on the screen, black positive, blackness, natural nature. This is absolute, because we understand nature is a set of rules, reactive set of rules that governs existence. It's why when you do what's necessary to create fire, fire will be created. So there are rules in place that manage within existence that enable it to be self-sufficient. The reason why they put natural before it is because it's showing you that beings or a mind, created that and govern it. You understand? The rules and put them in place for certain entities, a universe, a dualverse, triverse, so on and so forth. You understand? So existence precedes creation. You understand? And things which exist aimlessly without purpose, understood, is referred to as chaos. When they are placed into a cycle, you understand, a growth cycle, then this becomes order. Understood? So 9 ether represents positive, agreeable in that regard. And in the hieroglyphs, you can see there that symbol there, or the Safaf script, excuse me, yeah, the N there, or excuse me, in English, this would be translated to the N symbol. Yeah, you can see there the walaf or coil, which is a symbol for our hair, the only beings on the planet with hair. Everybody else has fur. Excuse me. You can see that it symbolizes the N symbol there in English, yeah, for nupu. Yeah, but you see the symbol there, the palel, which is a stool. It's a sound. And you got, excuse me, this is a U sound, not an N. This is the N sound, nupu or nun bowls. Excuse me, this is referred to as, read it in this direction. Yeah, so nun here for the nun bowl. Yeah, like the womb is a nun bowl inside it. It has darkness contained within it, and that darkness is alive, able to process life. The ulaf, which is a coil, which is an U sound. This is the palel, it means stool, and it's a pa sound. So na, u, pa, u, yeah, nupu. Now, as you can see, in English, it is an N, yeah, what they call N, which is not the proper sound for it. You understand? Because N is really EN, so they don't have even unique sounds for their letters. But it's an N symbol, yes? Now, pay attention. So it's opposite, you understand? It's opposite or the opposing force, unnatural nature, yeah, white, which means low energy, yeah? So we were talking to you last month, and as we said so much times before, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but as there's new people, I must continue to do that. Now, so if you think about coal, for example, which represents 9 ether, coal, when it goes through its transition state, it has a lot of energy within it, and that's why it's burned to produce energy or release its energy in this society today, at least, which they're trying to move away from because of climate change and other things. But when coal, over millions of years, loses its energy content, it becomes transparent. Yeah, it becomes a diamond. Yeah, no more. Its energy is depleted. Understood? So it becomes a very dense, hard material, low vibration with no color, symbolizing. You understand? No more energy. Yeah, energy is depleted. So coal in death is a diamond. Yes? But where do they place most of their value? They place the value in this society on artificial things. They place the value in this society on unnatural things. That's where the value is. Yeah, they say the best things in life are what? Free, correct? But the most expensive things in this society, do you understand, are often artificially created things that they produce. Yeah, which are opposed or opposite to nature. And now have people going, even black people doing plastic surgery and all these things that we had naturally occurring. Now they're convincing you that you need to have this kind of plastic surgery. Understood? To attract men using the same natural attributes that you had already. You understand? As Africans. So, but not respected when Africans do it. When the Caucasians have the same features, then in their society they respect it. So that becomes the authority of what they consider to be of beauty is. But it's all, remember, what is being projected outwards of the TV. You understand? One time cinema, now social media. Yeah. Remember, media. So what's being projected out there that tricks and fools the mind that these things mean something or they're really real. So what do you see here on the Zupu symbol, where, as you can see there, the hieroglyph or Safaf, as it should be called, is a lock. They're called a Zabas. That's where you get the what? the Z or Z, as they say in English, sound from. We see the ulaf, yeah, the coil once again. But what do we see in here? Let's go back. We see it reversed, inversed. Yes? In the opposite direction. My ancestors showing you. You understand? The palel, the stool there, and we see the U symbol once again. Yeah, so Z, U, Pa, U, Zupu. Yeah, representing death as opposed to growth. You understand? As opposed to life in this context, death and dying. So we have the lock there. Yes? In a horizontal position. Understood. Right. Pay attention. When we look at the symbol for man, we see the same lock there, yeah, on both sides. And then here we know is a text symbol. When we see that text symbol, automatically we know it means female. Yeah, so the word in our language, Sabaik or Musbatia, Zazaz for man, Zazaz tat for woman. Yeah, so the question was, are we those things? Are we those? Yeah? That's what we refer to ourselves as. Now, let's look at the symbol for mummy. When we look at the symbol for mummy, interesting enough, what do we see again? We see that same lock. What is a mummy? Well, a mummy is one of the ways in which we preserved genetic integrity. So in order, there was an understanding at least that technology in the future, as we revolved, as opposed to evolved, and I'll explain that in a bit. As we revolved, yes, that technology would become more sophisticated, that it would improve. Understood? So the same way like Walt Disney today tried to freeze himself before apparent death, freeze himself so that his body would be preserved, so the rumors say, to a point in the future where whatever disease he was suffering from, they will be able to cure it, and then he obviously could sustain one's life in the physical. And so us as the Kadem Mukmat or ancient Egyptians, we originally used to freeze bodies, understood, at one time, or at least cells within the bodies, so that they could be preserved to be recloned again, understood, in the future. Now, over time, like you see in your own fridges in your houses today, there's certain life where if you keep something in a fridge too long or in a frozen state, it starts to deteriorate. So we understood that over time, cells deteriorate. So we used this new technology called mummification. Do you understand? Which if we could seal it and allow no air inside, basically it will preserve the cells for as long as the covering, understand, was not breached with air. Yeah, and so mummification was basically the upgraded form of cryogenics, and this is why we buried or had tombs full of, you know, riches, gold, or what considered to be wealth inside there, because they knew this would cost money. This type of operation to reclone the person back from one of their cells, understood, and you'll be able to reclone the body, but not the mind. Yeah, so a person is brain dead in a matter of minutes, and over time, as the body deteriorates, the brain melts. Basically, it turns into a liquid mush. Understood? Now, so the opening of the mouth ceremony at one time was performed, yes, which sent the person's link or the essence of a person, yes, back to the star constellation of origin. So in this context, it'll be sent back to the Orion, obviously in the context of a male, and back to Sirius in the context of a female. Yeah, so because the mental, or they say a person's brain dead, isn't it? So, sometimes if the stem's cut, say a person's brain dead. So in actuality, when you die, that link is cut off, isn't it? Yeah. So here, this is what the lock symbolizes, that the person is cut off from the mental. Because remember, when a person is saying their mind, what they are really saying is my individual portion of the mental reservoir. Yeah, so the mental is the whole. Yeah, but I'm drawing or tapping in and saying my individual portion of the mental. And I refer to it as mind, or my mind, or mine. It's meaning mine, M-I-N-E, individual portion of the mental is, so they refer to it as mind. That connection there. Yeah. Now, and your ka'a, so the three etheric aspects of yourself, you can say about mind, body, and spirit, but obviously we have 9 principles to a human being, not 3 that we talk about, but the out of the physical body, the triad principle was your ba'a, yeah, your etheric soul, your ka'a, which is the spiritual you, and then the or achah, yeah, which is the etheric you. Understood? The ka'a out of those 3 is what links or enables a person to draw down, you understand, or connect to the mental, to draw down, obviously, into the brain. What they are talking about is my individual mind. You understand? And so, with the mummy in a dead state, what's happened is the zabas, or the lock, is turned into the horizontal or locked position. Yeah, as you can see here, bolt, locked position. So the question you need to ask yourself, well, what is the unlocked position? What is the unlocked position? Okay. Well, let's show you. Let's get this whiteboard up again. You have to give my drawing. You see the white screen?
Yes, I can see the white screen.
Okay, so let's try and draw. Let's try and draw this. That's the lock, yeah. This is the sabas, or the lock. Yes. And what is it? What letter does it symbolize? The Z, correct? Okay. Imagine, grab these 2 bits here. Yeah, grab them. Yeah, horizontally like a handlebar, and turn it. Yes, 90 degrees counterclockwise. What do we end up with? Well, we're going to end up with what? Yes, counterclockwise. So that's the open position. If we turn that, take that Z and we turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise, we get our end. Yes? So, locked, open. Do you understand? Our access to true mental or mind again. We're thinking in our own mindset. No one is interfering or reinterpreting that energy that we're receiving, you understand? Putting it through some kind of filter, yes, and giving it back to you, and you think that you're thinking. When in actuality, that is causing you not to pay attention to where that energy is going. What is that called? It's called faith and belief. It is called, do you understand? Negro. Yeah? Or Negro, excuse me. From the Latin word negra. You understand? black, but to them, it means death. Because the Negro looks like us, or looks like us as we are today, but is mentally dead. Meaning to say that 6 Ether has had a lock on our minds by way of bad information, because it's had us in a certain formation, which is what? Has been conform. But not conform as in conners mean with, but contra. What does contra mean? It means to go against the original form. What is the original form? The original form is what? One, or whole. Everything they do is against the original form. One is M, mother. What are we in? Patriarchal. Against, anti. Understand? We deal with facts. They deal with artifacts. We deal with facts. Where are our facts coming from? The heavens, suns. Where are their facts coming from? The opposite, buried underground. The opposing force of 9 is 6. The opposing force of 6 is 3, or ghost. Both are opposed to 9. So all this while, what was taking place, you understand, was right there in front of our eyes, but we didn't have the eyes to see. We didn't have the right information. Our eyes was not open. We didn't see this. We didn't see that there was outformation contra to information. And below the seas would be beneath formation. Somebody will have you thinking, oh, well, this is tricky wordplay by the master teacher. It's how they get you in. You understand? This is cultist behavior. But the facts are, it's in the hieroglyphs that our ancestors left for us. Right there in front of our eyes. How the whole system is set up for death and to take energy from the true beings who are the only beings in this existence who have energy. You don't know who you are. We keep saying it. You don't know who you are. And you don't know the value of the soul. So therefore, you do not know what others are willing to do in order to get a piece of your soul or to direct your energy to fire up their organizations, their entities, their machinery, to work against you. They're not going to teach you about you. It's called racism. Yeah, or wrong racism. The suppression of another race to further your own race. We did not deal with wrong racism. We dealt with right racism, which was preservation of self. Self-preservation, but it didn't mean we didn't help other people. Of course we did. Because it's what is better for existence. Our ancestors governed existence. Without existence, things can't grow. Existence before creation. Creation's within existence. It's not superior to it. Yeah? So the games that were being played was because what? What did the master say to us? What did the spell, one of its original meaning? Spiritually ignorant. Racially blind. Because we didn't understand how existence was set up. Now, they've got an inkling to how it was set up. It's called Wicca, which is their religion. Wicca. Christianity Judaism, Islam, it all comes from Wiccanism. And Wicca obviously is designed what? To derive or steal energy from others. There's only one source of energy, nature. How it's used is the issue. So you represent that. So if I can get you to empower what I'm doing, and you don't even know you're doing it, that's the religion working for, that's their religion working for them, but against me. Yeah, because what they didn't really tell you was, maybe I'll try and make even this clearer. Yeah, because your endocrinal glandular system, isn't it? Yes, sits in the glands sit in a socket, isn't it? Yeah, which the Hindus or Dravidians refer to as chakras. Yeah, we have the word arushat. There's other words for it as well. Somebody help me out here with the updated Sabatic word. But arushat is the name for the socket which the gland sits within. And what the gland is doing, effectively, or what the socket is doing, is taking energy from externally, converting it into a form that the human body can use by way of our glands. Yeah, that's one of its purposes. So it acts in the same way like your plug does in your house. You understand? Because remember, electricity is generated from the power station, has to be stepped down, you understand, by using transformers to a level, you understand? There's different people on this call from around the world, yeah, to a level that you can plug into, yeah, and get the just amount enough energy that you need to utilize or use. Do you understand? Now, assume that's the wall, and it assumes that's your plug. Yes? You've got, boom, yeah, this appliance over here of some type. And from your plug, yeah, you're gonna take the wire and plug it into the appliance to power that particular device. So yeah. So the energy is directed from the plug to plug it in to a set device, understand, of your choosing. Understand? Now we're in. You're in a world. So just bear with me. So I'm gonna turn itself off. Okay, we go. Right, you're in a world now where, because we're moved from the Piscean era to the Aquarius age, the era from we come from water to air now, yeah, as they refer to as Piscean, understand? Yeah, an Aquarian. Yeah, so excuse me. What we're seeing is that wire is no longer important. Do you understand? Or for some appliances, it's not important because it can be wireless communication, but the energy is still directed, overstood, to the device that it needs to power it. You understand? So to some degree, it's controlled. All right, got your plug, boom, going to plug it into an appliance. Overstood. Now, if somebody is going to siphon off, so you're paying this, and so let's say this is the utility company. Yes, and so they're producing the energy, yeah, and basically, yeah, providing it to your household, yeah, and then you get the bill, yeah, for the production of that energy. Yeah, we understand the simplicity of that. But what somebody could do potentially, isn't it, is siphon off, or for your energy, but they need to kind of siphon it off from here, use this energy, and then basically it's they're using it, but guess who gets the bill? You're getting the bill. Why they are using energy in the sense that you are effectively paying for. Now, this is what religion is doing on this side and it's also doing it on this side. What they don't tell on this side as well. What they don't tell you is that you, as a supreme being, are linked to all energy generation. Yeah, there is no energy generation without us. We are linked to all energy generation, and in actuality, we have the ability to direct this energy for purposes of our choosing. You understand? And who helps us to direct that energy? Ancestors. Which, when you look at this word "an," what does it mean? And that word "on," you understand? It means son. This is why you are referred to as what? Descendants. Yeah, because from that son, we descended down, obviously, into what? This gaseous state with that central sun called the solar plexus. Yeah, we descended down from that higher energy state, gas, yeah, to manifest here into the physical. So you get to control how that energy is being utilized. Do you understand? Yeah, with your connection to your ancestors. Because you what? You straddle, yeah, the physical and the etheric. You're both an etheric entity or spiritual being and a physical being at the same time. You straddle both. So you must direct the energy accordingly. And if you don't, someone is going to take advantage of that by giving you what? Fake rituals or religious rituals by way of multiple choice, by saying, become a Christian. Hold on a minute. What about your genes? Who are you first? Because you can't choose your religion. You were already wired a certain way when you came into this world. You had a mother of a certain genetic configuration and spiritual configuration. You had a father of a certain genetic and spiritual configuration. There was no preacher involved in that union. There was no other entity involved in that union. You may have people who support, yeah, very important, medical professionals, so on and so forth, but they were not there to create the union. All of a sudden now, when we get into the physical, entities start stepping in to get in between that union. And this is how energy can be misdirected. Our ancestors need the energy flow from the physical, say need, but they should have our energy flow from the physical directed into them, which helps them ascend. And vice versa, in order for them to fulfill their purpose, they need requests from us to aid them. That's what gives them purpose. But we've been sending our energy into any and everywhere. Nothingness, called idol worship, IDLE. Everywhere else except our family. Those requests they're going to nothingness, which keeps us spiritually weak. Is why after 400 going into 500 years, we're still finding ourselves in the same significant issues under their rule, feeding their forces. Because people are in hybrid religious, you understand, versions of organizations. They won't acknowledge the Nabab Rayahta. They won't acknowledge facts. They want to mix and blend their stuff and our stuff. It don't work like that. 9 is not 6. 6 is not 9. 6 can never escape 9. It all comes from 9. 6 is 9 in death. But it all comes from 9. It all comes from the whole. There is no outside of all. And you are part, as we said it in the beginning, you are part of the whole. You understand? I am one as Pa'ut. I am one as, not, you understand? Not I'm one with, I am one as. I represent the whole and part at the same time. As your mother is whole, she gave birth to part with the help of your father. You are whole, correct? But when you produce your sperm, when the woman produced her egg, that was part. Two parts came together and created a third part. 3/3 makes up a new whole. Do you understand? Yeah, it's the rules of things, which we talked to you about before, isn't it? Is of are of is. And how this symbolism, you understand, for us at least, helps us to see or understand the world that we don't see, at least with our physical eyes. And that's what the bridge is between, for us, how we use symbolism. To them, is to keep knowledge away from the fool. That's why we had symbols. But for you interpreting symbols, it is so that you can see into the darkness. Yeah, that's what it symbolizes. Yeah, it symbolizes something. You know, that picture is 1,000 words. It symbolizes something in the dark that you can't see, but it's able you to see the symbol so you can get understanding of what you can't see. And the whole playbook, or their playbook, is known, foreseen to come. The problem is we've been ignoring it, isn't it? Let's just get us back to us where we were. Yeah, the lock symbolically has been switched on. We've been in a mentally dead state. The mummy walking around, do you understand? With his tongue cut out. He didn't speak his language. You understand? But all of it is us. 9, 6, you understand? It's all us. If we're controlling things. Remember, the force of 6 ether, what? Must either be controlled or ignored. Both options or routes are equally valid. Do you understand? So either you give it no power, you see ignored, you give it no power, or if it is to have power, it must be controlled. What does that look like? Well, in ancient Africa, you can't come and live in Africa if you're not of 9 ether. So you can't get access to the power. We'll leave you in that state. But obviously, we need to control how you live. You understand? Not because we're seeking to control in terms of domination, but if you're not living right, burying your dead properly, you understand? That obviously, it creates diseases. Diseases can be carried by the air into where you're living. So what was your paradise now becomes infected with bad germs that are traveling through the air. So it's better that you help, yes, maintain things within existence, even for your own survival. So you have to be outwardly facing in that regard and help people, at least to the level that they can be helped, and let them fulfill their potential if they're willing to work together. But their nature can be one of what? As we've seen, one of opposition, one of subjugation, warlike, killing. Is how their ancestors created them. Understood. And in nature, they represent the opposing force. Now, there's a lot of mix, blend, mashups all over now. So you can't tell, in some instances, what's what, who's who. Yeah, sometimes it has to present itself. Yeah, which this information provides that genetic explosion or triggers necessary to see who's who. Yeah, because it's the foreign genes that has been holding us back, and the lack of knowledge or understanding until the master teacher come along and laid it all out for us if we would only read and study and then apply it, amongst each other, to get to that unified picture once again of us, which we've been told time and time again by different leaders. But obviously now it's being made obviously a lot more plain, a lot more clear, maybe even scientific, some may gather it as. So you understand that you are how you are linked to the very source of all things, you understand? As a universe connected in to the multiverse, understood, and that your own ignorance can shut off or keep the lock in that horizontal position. Do you understand? But in inklings, you turn that lock, as I say, or the master has forced you, the master has created the key, the master's key, which he plugged in to the Z and turned it 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So it was open to you once again. The problem is you're getting flashes of outspiration into inspiration. Do you understand? Where, when we're fully at sound right reason, we're locked into the frequency of what Wu-Sabat is being broadcast on. Completely 100% tapped in. You understand? But obviously in this environment, how many frequencies are there? Different things, distractions, so on and so forth, diet, all these things play into a part of affecting our ability to concentrate. And we have not perfected ourselves to a level where we're so strong, you understand, that even short or minor dips doesn't affect our overall connection to that frequency. You know, like, I don't know, if you're skilled in something where you've done for a very, very long time, and you don't do it for a small period of time, it doesn't take you long, is it, to jump back on it and get, really back up to speed, because you've just got it. It's part of your being. Understood? And so in terms of our transformation, we have to get to that point, isn't it? Where it's just completely part of our being, isn't it? Nine ether, Wu-Sabat, our language, our culture. It's part of our being. Or something we're translating to think about in one mindset, translating into another mindset. It's become part of our being. Now, you can only do so much if you are born into what we've been born into in this society. But the children, you understand, as we start transforming, remember that morphogenetic field, which controls the shape information for entities being born onto this planet, understood, is also changing as our mindset is changing. So the children we're born, you understand, with more 9 for awareness, eventually with a 9 for mindset. If we continue down the path of transformation, and stop ourselves becoming, let's say, etheric entities that are feeding 6 ether forces by way of adhering and continuing to adhere in their religions and belief systems, and not getting back to facts, not cutting off or ensuring that this connection is pure. By keeping a positive, agreeable mindset, even in the face of adversity. Because we know what's waiting there. Not to say you can't be sad or angry or whatever the case may be, but we know what's there waiting to feed those forces. So we're having control of our emotions, i.e. our emotional energy. Because that's what they feed off of. A society that creates fear. Isn't it? False education appearing real. That's what some say fear means. So the illusion, you understand, not reality, the illusion is keeping us fearful, where the reality would help us to be much more grounded, secure, calm. Do you need to fear death if you know you can reincarnate up to 24,000 times to figure it out? Now, knowing if that's true or not happens after we die, not before. You understand? But certain clues have been left for us to know whether existence does exist after death. There's clues that have been left. Life started or the burning process at least started, excuse me, when you took your first breath, isn't it? But you existed before that. And even when you die and that breathing stopped, it doesn't eliminate all the people that you affected in your life while you were here on earth. If you were living in a cave somewhere, no one knew you even existed. So life, or excuse me, existence, or the fact that you existed is not wiped out when the life journey or the breathing journey, ends. Something to think about. Yeah. So the proof is giving us, some understanding of how the whole picture, or how the jigsaw, the piece of the jigsaw puzzle, how they fit together. You understand? And actually, what maybe you didn't realize is that actually I am the whole jigsaw. Yeah, that's what you're saying, isn't it? The all is, what's the next line? Or words? I am. You understand? All is, I am. So the whole, as we said before, I think in the previous one of these previous classes, your mother was the all. When you were inside of her, you saw your mother was the all. You didn't know no different. To you, that was existence. Until the point where you were born. And then you looked back at your mother, or you went to the breasts as you were programmed to do. You say, oh, hold a minute. If you had awareness at that point, detailed awareness, you would say, that's not the whole. That is part. I thought I was in the whole because everything, I was living from the inside out. I could hear noise, sounds, this, that, but that I was inside. As far as I knew, that was the whole. Until we became too big and we were born. Now, okay, that's where I came from. That is, she's not whole, but she is the whole. Because she can be separated. I am also, so the whole, therefore I am, or I became, or I become, or I am being. Because of the all. But both of us are the all within all. Do you understand? So part and whole. So as we were showing you that how the triad of existence, for example, which is space, matter, and time, is represented in the mathematics of the human body. Many times, the master teacher pointed this out. Feet, shin, thigh. You look at your hands. Well, okay. Where those 3 lines come from? 3 sections in my fingers. 3 lines in my hand. Do you understand? Hand, forearm, bicep, head, torso, legs. Listen, Panatharu, the wonder of Panatharu is that, as I say, even with the complexity of natural nature, is simplicity of design. Correlation, at least for us. Yeah. No one else looks like the night sky out there other than us. Yeah, but you were ridiculed for those things. Ridiculed for being dark. You understand? Whereas low energy is transparent. Death is transparent. You understand? So what they place value on in this society is anti-nature. What they place value in is unnatural. Size 0 is beautiful. Full form, you understand? Right weight, yeah, they consider that to be ugly. Straight hair, fur, yes, is at the lower end of the energy pole. Curly hair is full of energy. Fur or hair, which one? When they decide to curl that artificially, that which you have naturally, then it's considered to be beautiful. So the nature of the beast is anti-nature. You understand? Not because we're being racist. These are the facts of how things were set up. Understood? Which is why it was necessary for you to have a teacher, you understand, that had to understand both sides, yeah, the 6 and the 9 ether, because of how someone interfered with our genes to stop or halt or slow down our elevation journey. What more better way to stop you than to be inside your body, to mash up your mind, to stop, you understand, the connection from within the genes by mixing with you. They say this from a movie, isn't it? It's from a movie, that statement. Keep your friends close and your enemies what? Closer. It's from a movie. But what that means is mix in. Because once I'm in the genes, the anti-forces are within the person. And if they don't know how they are set up and how they are structured, they can internalize to not see themselves as an entity that processes multiple forms of energy. Yeah, the ego might say, well, that's my thoughts, that's my thinking, that's my insecurities, when they may not be. It could be coming from your ancestors, they could be coming from programming, they can be coming from ancestors within your genes who don't even look like you. So when they were in the physical, they opposed our race. So guess what their mindset is when they're inside the body? They're going to be opposed. Yeah. What form does that take in your universe? Not the universe, but your universe. You're dealing with positive and negative entities, which you, as the supreme being, you understand, must control. You know, while in control of your body. You understand? So you are the most high of you and of a lot of everything else. But unless you recognize that bit first, understood, to control all entities, positive, negative, etc., within you, and direct them or control them in a way to aid your ascension journey. Because others, as I say, are waiting there to take advantage of the situation if you do not ascend as you're supposed to. 6 ether forces to 1 ether are waiting there to take advantage. Any other questions?
Sorry, just finding my mouse. There are no questions no question whatsoever.
So this is why we understand, as we start to understand the role of existence, you understand? I've done a bit of a recap class today for the other points, or parts, excuse me. Yeah, is because we need to control where our energy is being directed to. Do you understand? So when we showed you that diagram with the plug, try to give you a bit of an illusion of that, make it allude to what's really going on, is that you we must take control of both sides, the material and the ethereal side. Yeah, which your ancestors are there to aid you in doing that. And that's what keeps it still factual, because you wouldn't be here unless it was for your mother and father, and their mother and father, and their mother and father, so on and so forth. Yeah, and direct them to, that's why they don't want you to connect. Because there is protection. There is help with life. You understand? The physical difficulties that we have in life. Panatharu, the sons, are not necessarily interested. I say this all the time. They're not interested in you can't afford to pay your taxes. You understand? Because that is something artificially created in this world. Not on their radar. And certain entities can't even see. They can't even see a tax form. You understand? Can't see it. It's not real. But your ancestors, you understand, who are one step removed from you, know exactly what that is, or know exactly what it means, at least even if it's only through your eyes, and can assist. Yeah, you can't redirect them to murder people and stuff and silly stuff like that. But they can assist in your life to solve certain problems that are causing you stress, you understand? And therefore, through the illusion of how we're seeing the importance of certain things in our lives, yeah, it can hinder our growth. Yeah, if it can throw you off, yeah, to a negative mental state. Do you understand? So the key, or one of our keys, which is our connection to our ancestors. Yeah, you're the 30 in you, which we touched upon, say, a couple of classes ago. Now, to take control of this again and understand your place, yeah, in the true jigsaw, that you are one of the pieces, yeah, that make up the true picture. If you didn't know it, well, get to know it. You understand? Right, okay, we're hitting 4:30 now, so we just touched on that part. I think when we get back, class in 2 weeks' time, it's a different subject, not me teaching. Another brother is doing the Science of Sound part 2. So when I come back on, I will continue where we were. It was on slide 100, what's that slide to me, 120. You understand? And we can start to this. I've gone a bit further back here, but we'll explore this further. You understand? Yeah, and I'll leave you with this then, so we can leave on a bit of a conclusion. So we go from 37, verse 37 of the all expanding. It says, so all is in tune, linked to time and energy. 38, the birth and death in order to renew energies and powers for producing new and young universes or children. You, 39, who is the supreme being, nature unlimited in every way, as a part of all, as the all is, I am. 40, as omniverse, you are all space without the need of movement or growth. 41, as multiverses, you are all things with movement and growth. 42, as triverses, you are reaction with each other and become places. 43, as dual verses, you are separated into opposites and become opposing places. 44, as universes, you are a point in space and time and material. 45, and as such are in fact all time during your existence of countless supreme beings of nature, once in tune with your tone. 46, do not, as those of us who have been fooled, take nothing as something and call it by a name such as God, Yahweh, Jahweh, or Jah or Allah. You understand? So we're going to explore that in greater detail. I mean, we've touched upon it. Now to give you a little bit of insight to what's going on. Yeah, because what were we originally? As we were showing you in these classes, how, you understand, things unfolded. As you know, the rules of things. Being, becoming, became. Yeah, the growth structure. You understand? This is showing you our separation, you understand, into pieces or parts, yeah, which together, you understand, that link is not broken. It only appears broken in the perception of our minds by way of bad information. Understand? Yeah, individual has the word all in there. You understand? But it's how you see yourself. And bad information can cause you to be what? Alone. And when you're alone, what are you? Vulnerable to attack by those who want to feed off of you as the force and source of energy. Understood? Yeah, I hope it's making sense in what we're expressing. You understand? There was something I was looking for, but in that regard, sure, no other questions. If we're not, we're going to close out for today. Yeah.
Right, there's no question. Hold on, wait, give me a second. Something just popped up. It's on the chat, and it's Dem Ami Reye. He's saying, when one crosses over to become an ancestor, then what is their purpose? Also, what is the purpose of the spirit world?
Well, first of all, when we have to understand two things, isn't it? So, so basically, when you think about mind, yeah, or when they've given us mind in the context of the 9 planes, yeah, mind is at 4. Understood? So we're going to say growth, or let's say the design of what we're seeing here in the physical, for example, started off as or is a mental plan, or one of the mental plans within the mind of all. Understood? The next stage down, which is the third, is the spiritual plane. So the spiritual plane in that context, remember, is the blueprint. The blueprint. So for every physical entity, that every physical item or atom, there's an etheric counterpart. Understand? So that is the blueprint. Yeah, how this thing is going to be enable shapes to be formed within the physical or material world. Do you understand? Because it is the blueprint in that regard. The one below that then is a plane of force. Understood? And a plane of force is where enables, I suppose, the energy that fuels the physical, or is contained within the physical, is held in the form of, if you're talking about food, it will reflect nutrition. Do you understand? In how fire, for example, is created, you've got a set of ethers that basically allow, a network of ethers that allow energy to flow, as I say, into the physical realm. Do you understand? So much like you've got wires on we were talking about earlier, on certain appliances that plug into the wall. In order for energy to be distributed, it requires different types of ethers. You understand? So let's say heat, for example, ultra gaseous matter, ether, light, you understand? Light ether, understood? Into the physical world. Obviously, that is a plane of force. Do you understand? To allow this energy to have, to permeate, let's say, into the physical. So the purpose of the spiritual is the blueprint, you understand, to allow shape to be formed, you understand, and then matter to be attracted to make things around a spiritual design, for lack of a better word. Do you understand? So the purpose of your ancestors, so basically spiritual beings, let's say for lack of a word, you understand, entities, in-house things of natural nature. So not all things spiritual are natural. Yeah, so spirits in-house beings of natural nature. They are not of natural nature. You understand? So you as an entity, for example, even when you're born as an Agaru, will be of natural nature. And even at your birth, you understand, you can have many spirits that attach to you. You understand? Because you are a universe. Universe is in-house lots of different life forms, as your physical body does now. Understand? A plethora, billions of life forms and entities in-house you as a universe. Understand? So all things spiritual are not necessarily all things natural. Let's say spirits in-house things of natural nature. What is the purpose of your ancestors? Well, the higher one goes, obviously they've got their own ascension journey. As us, you understand, going back or traveling back to the source of all, becoming back to Omni, but part of their role is to serve, isn't it? You understand? Is to serve you. Now, if you think about higher life forms, as we ascend up and they become part of the order of things, is to serve. And it's a higher state of life. Do you understand? The problem is that we are not giving them things to service by way of requests. So they're sitting there idle. And so certain things, obviously, they will try to intervene without breaking the rules that govern fate. Yeah, and sometimes we're vibrating on such a low level that they're trying to communicate with us, but how do you do so? Isn't it? There's a film called Arrival, you understand? Not that a film called Arrival, and you know, it's talking about obviously an extraterrestrial landing, and interesting enough, it's about language. But the first part was how do you communicate if you're not on the same level and you don't speak the same language, completely different vibration. So the reality is that we are the bridge between both the worlds. So we must reach out, you understand, and establish that communication. And at one time, it was as natural to us as picking up a mobile phone and dialing a telephone number. But bad information, you understand, and adverse forces who don't want you to have that access to that essential power, you understand, which could deal with your enemies. Because one of the things as well is that, you know, if you pray the wrong way, you become prey, P-R-E-Y, isn't it? But some certain times you also have to direct energy to suppress your enemies because they're growing in power. So sometimes you have to direct from what you can see and what you can't see to suppress your enemies in order to grow. Because there's forces out there that may be suppressing your growth. So you have to target them. And use your ancestors accordingly to deal with them. You can't see. Might be plotting against you, whatever the case may be, thinking negatively about you, jealousy, whatever the case may be. So you can't direct the energy to kill people, but you can direct it to deal with people. Understand? And forces. So their purpose, as well as in order for them to ascend, they need to serve. Yeah, and you think about higher entities within our existence, like the sun. Yeah, it's in service to us. Yeah, it can't just pop down the road to Orion because it feels like it. Star holocaust if it moves a few degrees out of position. Yeah, so all of the planets drawing themselves into the sun. How many billions of life forms are going to be killed if it moves 1 or 2 degrees out of its position? If it emits 1 degree more than what it's supposed to emit, pure problems in the solar system. That's how finely balanced and delicate things are. You understand? So to get to that level of concentration, mental control in that regard, okay, cool. You're going to have to go through some things and want to play that role. Which sometimes, in it, through life, old age or whatever, we get to that point, isn't it, in old age, where the things that used to trouble me as a youth, that were important, it seemed to be life and death to you. What kind of trainers that you had and what symbol was on those trainers. That was life and death at one time. Yeah, whereas when you get old, it's like, I put anything on my feet, I don't give a damn. Doesn't matter, it's immaterial, doesn't matter anymore. It was life and death at one time. Yeah, so as one goes through these, burns away these desires through life, isn't it? Boom. If you've reached that level of maturity, you realize, wow, serving, helping. Do you understand? These are the tasks, fulfilling, you understand, passing on what you got to the next generation, creating spaces and environments for others to thrive. If you've got it like that, you understand, or should get it like that. And you can give other people jobs, you understand, or you understand, ability to start their own business, whatever the case may be. You're helping, isn't it? You're serving others. But imagine you're there trying to, boy, you know what I mean? Let's say it said, listen, you can rise up to this next level, but we need you to get experience in it. You need to get you experience of serving. I don't know if there's a number. If it was, let's say it was 360 actions you need to do, selfless actions you need to do as an ancestor to help your family, to demonstrate, yes, you can be given a certain position of freedom to travel here and there, to learn, expand your mind, so on and so forth. And none of your kids, none of your people within your 30 are directing any requests to you because they're Christians, Muslims, Jews. They're being fooled. They're calling on Jesus. Hold on a minute. It's not Jesus. You understand? My ancestor's name, you understand? Yeah, is X or Y. That's my answer. They're calling on Jesus. No, look. Direct it to me. I can help you. Yeah, they're calling upon Jesus. So, in order to help them, to help ourselves, we have to direct the energy to the right place. And the purpose is, which is a good question, it's all around you, isn't it? Whether it's trees serving, whether it's, you understand, the sun serving us, whether it's the soil doing its job. There's everything around us that is serving our existence. You understand? And as we become into these higher degrees, we will also serve. You understand? Whereas in this realm, isn't it? In order to build, you must destroy. You understand? And it's not the same in all planes of existence. Any other questions? Or question further if you don't feel that question was answered to your satisfaction?
The brother said Tower attack for that, sir. And there is no other questions. I'm waiting for some more to drop into the chat box.
Okay. Seems okay. We've filled people's stomachs for today. So 2 weeks' time is the Science of Sound part 2, which I think is on the 15th of February. So look out for that class. The class in March, or my class in March, so it'll be the next part of this class, will be a date to be confirmed, just because I'm traveling on that day. So it'll be within the month, but it may be an altered date. So look, if you've locked in, obviously, to our Zoom, you'll get the notification. And if you're on our Facebook page, you can check when that date is. So definitely 2 classes in March. This might be a slightly altered date, so look out for that. And the recordings of these at some point will be on our YouTube channel over the next couple of weeks to revisit some of the things that we've covered today. Check out our website, United Sabians Worldwide, if you want more information about the culture. And it can also tell you about your local store near you, wherever you are in the world today. So much appreciated for your patience. riding with us on a bit of technicals. Trust that you've learned something new today. Big respect to our ancestors. Big respect to the master teacher, Dr. Malachi KZ York, also known to us as Pa Nabab Yaanuwn, who will be free. COINTELPRO can't get the best of us. So we keep fighting, keep putting the facts out there, keep connecting to your ancestors, yeah, and get that power and fix up and improve the things in your life, because your ascension journey is part of your genetic destiny. Understood? You are who you are, a supreme being. Never forget that. Okay, all, take care, and we will see you very, very soon over the ethers. Take care, all.